you doing again, YouTube world? This is Jerry Mason, your Kickin lawyer, and today I'm going to talk to you about the exciting and wonderful world of the criminal justice system. A lot of times I get clients that are in trouble for various things or find themselves in a predicament with the state, and they don't know how things work. Like just procedurally, it can be a very scary process if you've never been in any kind of trouble with the law before and you're not really sure what that entails. So this is a super brief video just to give you a real streamlined overview of the steps in the criminal justice system. And then, as always, I warn you that before you rely on this as any kind of advice, it's not intended as such. You need to make sure you seek counsel from a licensed and competent lawyer in your jurisdiction. Most of what I'm going to give you information on, because the court systems especially do vary state to state and sometimes even county to county. So what I'm going to outline is just a rough overview of the Tennessee court system, criminal court system, and where you may find yourself in it. So initially, the first encounter is usually with the police somehow. So the police may stop you on a traffic stop, come to your house on a call, whatever it leads to the police to come to to become in your presence, or you get on their radar, however you want to look at it. Usually you are arrested or you're cited. You can also be indicted, or they can issue a warrant for you later. There's a couple of other ways you can kind of get them. But basically, let's just make it simple. You're arrested or indicted or cited. Somehow you get in the court system. So let's say it was the arrest method. So you're arrested. Some jurisdictions have preset bonds where there'll be a bond set depending on the offense. Some of them you'll get a bond at the arraignment. The arraignment should be relatively quickly. Other things that happen at the arraignment are, they may see if you have a lawyer. Occasionally you can enter a plea. It just depends on the jurisdiction. But basically just understand that if you're arrested, you'll be taken before a neutral magistrate. That's what the law requires. And you'll have an opportunity to at least make a small case as far as, hey, I can't pay the bond that's currently set. Can I get a bond? You'll have some opportunity maybe at that point to maybe get out pending the furtherance of the investigation. The next step after the arraignment is there may be like a status day some places. Oh, by the way, so the first level, you're usually in General Sessions Court in Tennessee. Now, General Sessions Court is not really a trial court, okay? We don't usually consider it a trial court because you don't really have trials in it. You can have hearings, and it's a court of, they say it's a court of non-record, even though a lot of them are courts of record, really, they're recorded. Anyway, we're in General Sessions Court. So we've been arraigned. Now we have a status day, maybe. You may not. You may go straight to a preliminary hearing. But normally you'll have a status day where you can come in and say, hey, I've got a lawyer. Can't afford a lawyer. Can you give me a lawyer? And you have a right in criminal prosecution to an attorney. So the judge at that point usually will either determine if you are indigent to where you can't afford your own lawyer and potentially appoint you one. And just a little sidebar real quick. So there's always this misconception that, oh, I've got a public defender. That's a court-appointed attorney. Oh, no, this is terrible. It's a public defender. Well, they do have a high caseload, but those guys are not – I know some that are really good. There's one in particular, I won't say his name, but his initials are DS, and he's like the man. Like, next to my partner, Brian Huffman, he'd probably be my next go-to guy if I needed some help. So don't sell them short, they are definitely busy and overworked, probably underpaid, but they're skilled attorneys. On the other hand, sometimes you're appointed private attorneys. I take private appointments or public appointments all the time, even though I'm a private attorney. So, but you don't get to pick. That's one thing. So if you get a court-appointed attorney, it's luck of the draw. One of the benefits of hiring a private attorney is we do tend to have more time. We can focus a lot more on your case, give you a little more attention, maybe than a court-appointed or a public defender can. So, that's up to you. But anyway, so you might have a status day to decide whether or not tell the judge if you have an attorney. The next step's usually going to be either you waive the preliminary hearing or you have a preliminary hearing. So, and there's some strategy with you and your attorney on whether you do that or not. So, and let me back up. So, in the course of all this, by the time you get to the prelim, there probably hasn't been a plea. So, if you're going to plea it out, that's again discussions with you and your attorney can make a decision. There's some other videos I've done that may help you on some of that. But anyway, if you get a good plea offer, depending on the specific facts, or you got an attorney that can negotiate a pretty good one, sometimes it will have been handled without a preliminary hearing. So you may not even have this preliminary hearing that you'll see sometimes in General Sessions cases. If you go to the preliminary hearing, What it is, it's a probable cause hearing. So a lot of people think it's a trial. So it looks kind of like a trial. You got a judge, you got the state prosecutor, they'll call witnesses. Usually it's just the cops. And then the defense attorney potentially can call witnesses also and put on some proof, because the state has to prove they had probable cause to take whatever action it is they're taking against you. And probable cause is a super, super low burden, okay? So I tell you that because a lot of times clients will go to these prelims, and you're going to, 99% of the time, defense attorneys lose prelims, okay? I have won a prelim, but it is very, very rare to win a prelim. I know some attorneys that have won maybe 3 in 15 years, because it's not because they're not good lawyers, but the burden of proof is so low. So you got beyond a reasonable doubt to be convicted of something, and that's like way up here. And then you've got probable cause to arrest somebody or search their stuff or whatever, or get a search warrant. Super, super, super low burden, okay? And so the state just has to show that maybe something happened. Anyway, that's all determined in the preliminary hearing. If the judge determines that there was probable cause for the arrest or cite or whatever happened, at that point the case can be bound over to circuit court. So it's not over. Now, a private attorney, a lot of times their representation will end for you in general sessions. So we would take the case on for a certain cost, and then we assist you with it through that point. If we get past the preliminary hearing, if we win, great. The state could still bring the charges and bring them over in circuit if they want to, present them to the grand jury, and you could end up in trial court anyway, or they may drop them. Regardless, that's pretty much the duration, the scope of representation for most private attorneys. Then you'd have to hire that attorney or another attorney to take it to circuit court. Usually that's how attorneys structure the fee agreement. So if you're concerned about, oh, I don't understand, I'm in another court, why isn't my attorney helping me? It's the same charges. Well, it's because he did help you, he or she, they helped you in the general sessions court, but now you got a whole different court. It's a new judge, everything else is different in circuit court. It's got a lot more requirements too. All right, so circuit court, you get there by indictment, presentment, or criminal information. I'm not going to waste time explaining all that, but just know that, if you didn't come to a plea in general sessions and you either waived or lost the preliminary hearing in general sessions, then you're going to end up in circuit court, okay? Now, circuit court is a trial court. It's what we call it, is because you're working towards what you see on TV, the actual trials, okay? And these are few and far between. So, each year, our firm does a lot of trial work, but if you added up the total of criminal defense clients that we have, the majority of them are handled in general sessions. It's a very small percentage that we actually take to trial, although our firm does do a lot of trial litigation. So our firm looks at it, there's a pretrial phase, which is where you first get in circuit court, you file motions, maybe to suppress different things. That's when you'll hear the arguments for, they illegally seized things. All this kind of stuff actually plays a part in circuit court. Not quite as much in general sessions, but it does in circuit court. And then, of course, you work towards the actual trial, which is a very intensive process for attorneys and a very expensive process for you as the defendant, unless you're lucky enough to maybe have an appointed attorney of some form or another. But most of us private hire attorneys, that takes a lot of our effort and energy, especially away from other clients. So you usually do have to pay a significant amount to do a trial, to go to a full trial. Win or lose, if you win the trial, great. It potentially can go away. If you lose the trial, you have still sentencing that follows that, and that can be done. Usually the judge is going to have a sentencing hearing. You can have more witnesses come on. Normally that's included with most attorneys on their initial fee agreement. And of course if you lose, you have appellate options also too. You file a notice of appeal, and you can appeal mistakes in the record. A lot of times you guys will want to attack what your attorney did or didn't do. But I'm going to tell you, it's a very stressful, hard job, and my hair, if you look, see, this is all gray. This is literally from just being an attorney. I was dark-headed completely, no gray anywhere, until I decided to become a lawyer. It is a significantly stressful job, much more so than people think, largely because we deal with your problems all the time and our problems. But that's cool. That's why you're going to pay me all that money, okay, so that I can do that for you, and we're going to try to do a good job for you. So anyway, that's a real quick overview. I'm going to shut up. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, please like it, subscribe at the links below. And if you'd like any subject matter for future videos or like me to talk about anything else in the future, you feel free to comment. And if you need any legal assistance or just direction in general, anything, feel free to call our firm at the numbers listed below. And again, it's the Jerry Mason, the Kickin' Lawyer. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you next time.